What the actual hell have I just witnessed there? Welcome back to Black White Banter, ladies and gentlemen. And I don't really know where to start. Now, anyone who follows my channel knows that I'm not someone who's just going to rant for the sake of using the word rant in a title. But nobody's going to tell me that that was not the worst performance under Eddie Howe. Which, you know, I don't like saying, but it's more factual. Everything considered, West Ham's low confidence, how fragile they are, how toxic that atmosphere is with their fans, and how their form has been even since Nuno's come in. The fact that we took the lead so early and didn't build on that when confidence then was dipped even lower in that West Ham side, and no player came out with any credit, and all things considered, that is the worst. And you allow bad days, and I'm not going to say that for a second, but it makes no sense how Newcastle could be so bad on the back of so many positive victories, Fulham, Tottenham, Benfica, and put that shift in when players are now being able to be rested. It's not too many minutes for a lot. Maybe a Malik Chow, he could argue that. Maybe a Voltemada could argue that. But generally speaking, that's not even good enough of an excuse. Look, first half, West Ham are lucky to hit the post, unlucky when they hit the post, but we go up the other end, and it's a beautiful strike from a player in Jacob Murphy, who's one of the only players who likes to get a shot off, and that's a positive from him. It always will be. And it's beautifully put into the corner, and you're thinking, wow, let's kick on now. There is no reason that this couldn't be 2, 3, 4 with West Ham looking down and out. I think their fans were planning a protest post-match, and we just didn't. We dropped deep. And this away form is a massive concern. I'm looking back, like Aston Villa, first game of the season was a good performance. Leeds was bad. God, Brighton was bad. You're really scraping the barrel for any level of performance. Champions League aside, because that Union SG side were not the best opposition, no disrespect to them. There's a problem. There's a massive problem. We dropped deep and we allowed West Ham to grow their own confidence. When we should be the one dictating and pushing them back, and we didn't. We sat in. Anthony Gordon, first 15 minutes, I counted him give the ball away 5 times, including for what was almost a penalty, but rightfully so. That's why VAR, as much as we whinge about it, the right decision was made. Malik Chow wins the ball. But there was a long wait on that, and that should have been a wake-up call for some of these Newcastle players. Right, let's push on now, because, God, that could have gone either way if the referee had a different opinion on it. And we just didn't. There was little pockets of passing in and around the box, getting the ball out wide. You know, Anthony Gordon almost scored as the half went on. And look, the goals we conceded, Nick Pope, I know there's going to be a lot of heat about whether Ramsdale should come in, and I totally understand that, and I like healthy competition for places, and it wasn't his feet today, that wasn't the conversation, it was his catching. Should he have caught that first one before they scored? I think he should have, but regardless, if you're going to punch, and it is trendy for goalkeepers to punch, go wide, go really high, go up, go right. Do not just palm it into danger, and he'll know he's made a fuck up there, but he's also got to do better with the shot. Look, it's a lovely strike by Lucas Paqueta, but he's got to do better. He looks like he has the ability to get his hand on it. Sorry, it's all sorts of stuff going on behind us out here in Brazil. And look, the own goal. Yes, I'm really unhappy at how that move was built down our left-hand side. Dan Burn, he's done reasonably well and hasn't had too many teams target him with loads of success since he's come in. I think back to Fulham, Traore didn't get too much in. Tottenham on Wednesday, that was a relatively solid afternoon, quiet afternoon for him, evening for him, should I say. But the space that was down that left from a very, very quick transition from West Ham wasn't good enough. And the own goal, I'm not going to get on the back of Sven Botman. We haven't had that kind of bad luck for a while. It was just unfortunate. Nick Pope's anticipating the cross. Sven Botman's trying to block it. It happens in football. But that was the worst possible timing. And at half-time, you're saying, right, Eddie, stick a rocket up their ass. The rocket he seemed to do in terms of changes. But I'll touch on that after the actual half analysis. I've been really complimentary of Eddie Howe and his subs in recent matches. He's actually used his squad to win games and see games over the line. But not today. You know, Fabian Schär comes in, Voltemada goes off, which felt really harsh. He was quiet in the first half, but that wasn't his fault, and his link-up can be vital. He goes off, so we totally changed system. And I'm thinking, right, Asula brings us back to a Newcastle a bit like under Isak. Pace in the back line, looking for him. He's always going to be on the shoulder. Let's see what we can do there. It was just an awful... That second half was woeful. West Ham at times were playing around us. They were carving chances. And other than a Jacob Murphy shot that he should have done better with, and an Asula header that went straight at the goalkeeper in the last 5 or 10 minutes, we didn't test the West Ham team. The Brentford last week, and no disrespect to Brentford, they've been in... they've looked okay under their new management. They battered them. I think they had 20 shots in West Ham's last home game when they won 2-0. Newcastle couldn't carve out a single thing. Literally. And it was just awful. And we never built on it. West Ham were always trying to hit us. And we pushed and pushed and pushed. 5 minutes goes up. And they get a goal from us committing men forward. Should Nick Pope have done better again? Potentially, yes, to not let it go under him. He does bravely chuck his hand in. I did see that on the replays to try and claw it out. But the damage is done letting it go through his legs. And West Ham deserved that. And I never say this, I almost wanted West Ham to score in like the 84th, 85th when they were constantly countering. Just so I could leave the bar on my holidays where I am now in Brazil. God, if you can't tell how sunburnt I am. Jesus, Brits abroad. But I just wanted to leave the bar. I just wanted to go and get a drink and get on with my day. And that was curtains in the last couple of minutes. And you've got Bruno arguing with the referee about whether it was a free kick on Pope or not. The game's done by there, Bruno, mate. You shouldn't be arguing about that. You should be arguing with your teammates for a better performance. Collectively, what went wrong today? Every single individual performance. Forget about collectives. There was no one good I could praise today. If I was trying to scrap praise, and I always will, I would say that Malik Chow again didn't put much of a foot wrong. Great interception from a header in the first half from a dangerous cross. Got moved over to the right back and looked comfortable enough, but he didn't offer much going forward. Emil Kraft, I don't think he had his best day, but how he's gone off, and Dan Burns stayed on. When we have a Lewis Hall on the bench who we are told is fit enough to be in a match squad, but he's not fit enough to come on the pitch when we needed a natural left back out there. That's a one for Eddie Howe. If you're protecting a player because he's still not right, don't put him on the bench. And I know Kieran Trippier was missing because of illness, so that was unfortunate, but no individual performances. Jacob Ramsey would be a slight positive I would take from that one, because when he did come on in the second half, it was the pockets of space and his passion as well when he's pushing Lucas Paqueta, that I didn't mind. That there's something to build on there with a midfielder who is going to try and link up the player, and that's as far as I can honestly go. I thought Jacob Murphy, maybe for his goal and what he offers, in a sense I could give him a decent score for that. I thought Sandro Tonali was off it today. His body language wasn't great. And other than that, it's all negatives. So let's start with some of them. This 4-3-3 system, which I will go on record and say in my match previews for Brighton, for Tottenham, I've talked about as being a worry because teams have figured it out. Stood there again. When you play Bruno, Joelinton, Tonali, it's a flat three. And Lucas Paqueta, as good as he was today, and he was man of the match by a country mile, he was diving around like a prick at the end. He did deserve a yellow card that he eventually got. But he's a very good footballer playing against his best mate in Bruno, and he won that battle by a country mile, so they'll be having an interesting afternoon meal after the game out. I've got no doubts. He was picking up space. He was picking up space between them lines that it doesn't work when you play a flat three. Brighton picked us off with it. Tottenham, if they'd been better the other night, could have picked us off with it. And it just doesn't work. Barcelona tapped into it as the game went on at St James's Park. When you play like a Miley or someone to sit, it doesn't have to be Miley. I think we've looked better this season. I do honestly think when Eddie Howe has changed that system, and that brings out Joelinton, and that's a big negative for me today. I don't know, and I've been saying it now for a fair few weeks, and it's going under the radar a little bit. People talking about his tackle against against Tottenham on Wednesday. Oh, he's our enforcer. It's funny, and I took the mick out of it. On me dealing with Eddie Howe's Mags episode, I took the mick out of it just because of how the Spurs and the football world reacted. But Joelinton this season looks lost in this Newcastle team. I don't know what his role is anymore because he's getting a bit older. He doesn't have that pace to link up down the left-hand side anymore. He does give away needless fouls. He did in the build-up to their third goal, pushing Paqueta over and getting really angry about it. It was needless. I don't know what he's contributing, and I think if you bring in a holding midfielder to sit in, or even a Ramsey to support the attack, they are both offering more than what Joelinton does. Anthony Gordon hooked at half-time despite being rested midweek. That tells you the whole story, rightfully so. Really, really bad, giving the ball away. Why does he only get up for big games? Is that because Thomas Tuchel might be watching Gordon? I'm sorry, I sound really harsh there, but he was pretty woeful, and that's a big player that's got a big reputation, that's experienced enough now to play better than that when he's had a full fucking week to rest. Dan Burn, I don't want to call him out too much, and that's not me protecting him. It's because he won't be playing there when all our players are fully fit. We know he won't, but he was exposed today and he wasn't helped in his cover from the midfield. He really, really wasn't. Bruno G, really bad today up against his best mate. He gave away a foul early doors where Lucas Paqueta almost scored a free kick. He was bad. He was off it. Passing was so sloppy today. The basics were so bad. Forget about, and the intensity, the body language of some of the players today in the second half looked like a team that had given up. Oh, this isn't going well. We've had a long week, lads. We may as well write this one off. Even Sandro Tonali's body language wasn't there, and I know he'll have been fed up with all of his teammates and how badly we were playing. Nick Pope, there's going to be question marks over him versus Ramsdale, with Ramsdale coming in looking so good. I'm not going to get too much on his back in terms of He does have this insistence in recent weeks on punching rather than catching, whereas I thought he started the season commanding his box pretty well. I want that Nick Pope to return if he's going to stay in the team, but he needs to do better with a goalkeeper breathing down his neck who put a good shift in earlier in the week. Defensively, we weren't great today. Fabian Schär comes in. Was it harsh? The Kraft went off. Barnes comes on and does not affect the game at all. Elanga, a £55 million last resort option for Eddie Howe, apparently, is not good against the low block. And I'm starting to ask what he's good at and why we're seeing an Elanga that looks totally different to the one in Nottingham Forest. Voldemar, really harsh for him to be hooked off. And Eddie Howe is going to be criticised from me today because his substitutes were nothing short of ridiculous in that second half. And I hate saying it, I hate calling him out, but I'll praise him just as much as I'll criticise him. I don't understand what he was thinking of. The Barnes-Joe Linton combination on the left, Asula coming on so early when Voldemar can actually be really important to link up and bring other people in when you're under the cosh. No use of Lewis Hall if we told he's fit enough when we needed some sort of natural fullback to come onto the pitch. Ramsey was the only player I was happy to see him come on, and when you've got such a good squad you can influence a game when we're not playing well, and he didn't. He actually did. He made us look worse with the changes he made, and the system just looked so confused. I think Sandro Tonali was playing fullback by the end. Not good enough at all, and I'm sick of using the words we need a reaction against Bilbao, because if we're going to be a home team and be so bad away, that's half your fixtures. That's Newcastle finishing mid-table in the Premier League. We haven't won away since April, and my God, do we look like it? Because if I go back, like I've already mentioned, to Leeds away, to Brighton away, it's just not good enough. We've got no control over the game. We're not attacking matches. We're sitting back and tactically trying to pick our moments when we attack. There was no intensity today after a full week and a totally different team to what played Tottenham. That's a worry, because if you're intense and press hard against a fragile West Ham team, you reap the fruit from doing it, and we did not. We need to be better against Bilbao, but I've got no doubt we will, because it's a Champions League night at St James's Park, and that is what's going to annoy me the most. Yes, I want to see us bounce back with a win, but it's got to be better. We've got Brentford away in a week, who are having a pretty good season. They'll pick us off as well. We can talk about Tino and Hall coming back and Wissa coming back into the side. That didn't matter today. We should not be getting beat as comfortably as what we just did off, other than Wolves, one of the worst teams in the Premier League. And that's why Newcastle fans, after 3 wins on the belt, feel shocked, embarrassed and frustrated. And I'm going to sign off on that, because I'm going to go and try and sink a couple of Brazilian beers and enjoy the rest of my trip. I won't be wearing this Joe Linton top for the foreseeable, I don't think, that I got specifically for this holiday. Sorry I couldn't be there. Anyone who watches my vlogs and maybe wants that fan reaction, I apologise. Every fan who's gone down, it looks like brilliant again, well supported, even on a weekend where public transport, particularly trains, has probably left a lot of Newcastle fans really uneasy. Fair play to each and every one. I'm sorry for all them travelling home. Let us know your thoughts down below, Newcastle fans. If you're new around, please whack that like, that subscribe. I am away for a week or so, and I'll be back for Man City in terms of proper match vlogs, but I'm just livid. I'm absolutely furious, and I'm sure every single fan is. Sunday dinner's been ruined, and things need to improve, but there needs to be a massive inquest into what was Eddie Howe's worst performance under his helm, when there was no reasons for that to happen. I'll see you on the next one, Newcastle fans, and as always, somehow keep the faith. How are you, lads?